So we're going to record this for there are some people for whom it's 4 in the morning, so they're not going to be here. But thank you all for coming. I'm really honored to be in this conversation today with Alina and with all of you. We're going to be very informal, but we'll be introducing each other and so on. She is the author of 2 books of poetry, Diver and Other Poems, and All the Beloveds. She gifted me a copy of her book, and then I had to go looking for more of her poetry online, and basically I fell in love. I'm an American now, so it's a bit cheeky of me to put myself into a Malaysia Day event, but I'm doing events for my book that's coming out shortly, and I really wanted to doing events with other writers as well, and I really wanted to do one with Alina because our work seems to have a connection. And my book is about the immigrant experience, so a lot of it is about the pull of calling more than one place home. And Malaysia is that first home that is still in my heart and of course in my kitchen. And our work touches on a lot of the same themes. So before we get started, I will just say we will both put our contact info in the chat. If anyone wants my book, Alina's books, get in touch with us. And that's it for the business side of things. So no formal introductions, but to start us off, I'm going to quote a couple of things from that long WhatsApp thread that we started, Alina and I, when we started, we heard each other's work read.
You'll be able to hear you. Yes.
I think somebody needs to mute. Thanks. So I'm going to quote a couple of things Alina said in that thread that were very wise and kind. Her words to describe this time where we have her words, discourses all over the world challenging the right of people who don't belong. And then, as we were talking earlier, she was talking about the functions of the arts to help us. Her words again, poetry and art matter even or especially in such times. They nourish and strengthen the spirit and help us survive and love and sing. So, Alina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Shymala, for that lovely introduction. First of all, before we go further, I want to wish all Malaysians Happy Malaysia Day, and all Malaysians, or all those who love Malaysia, wherever you are, Happy Malaysia Day. For people who may not know, we actually celebrate 2 important days. One is Hari Merdeka, or Independence Day, which we celebrated on the 31st of August. So that's just gone past. And that's to mark the independence of Malaysia from British rule in 1957. And Malaysia Day is to commemorate Malaya joining with Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore to become the Federation of Malaysia in 1963. So we're fortunate to have two days to celebrate. So yes, everyone, Happy Malaysia Day, and this is why we wanted to have this conversation and reading. So I met Shymala. Actually, it was one of those really fortuitous and graced meetings, because some time ago, I think 2 years ago, Shymala and her husband Joe came back to Malaysia on a visit, and my sister Saida, who's here, hi sis, hosted a tea for Shymala at her lovely house. And so we met there, and but the real conversations didn't start then. There were too many people and there was too much food. So we started chatting later when Shymala contacted me, and because she had read my book. And then I attended Shymala's launch of her book, Carrying the Ocean, which the pre-sale happened earlier this year, and huge congratulations to you, Shymala, for bringing out that very important book. I've had a chance to read it, and the poetry is just important and beautiful. So Shymala is going to put all the information about how you can order it later. But yeah, so I attended her Zoom launch, which was a very lovely event, and then we started talking, and Shymala came out with this idea of doing this thing to honor Malaysia Day. So here we are. And it's been a really interesting process for me because a lot of the talk was on WhatsApp, and we have different time zones and everything, but we had such an ongoing conversation. It wasn't just about, how should we do this? And also I must thank Shymala and her husband Joe for tutoring me on Zoom, basically, because I'm not that great with Zoom. But the conversation went off into all sorts of directions, about Malaysia, about identity, about belonging. Yeah, so here we are today. So as Shymala said, we're not going to do this in a very structured way. It's going to be a conversation among friends. We're going to read our poetry, and there's going to be space for discussion and questions at the end. Right. So, Shymala, do you want to move?
Sure. So I think we'll just warm up with one poem apiece, and then Alina will take us into the next section of the conversation.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about the immigrant experience in my book. And I certainly, when I was growing up, when I was young, I never thought I would leave Malaysia. And it's always a bittersweet choice to do this. So this is about that choice, and also about the realization that it doesn't, despite what one thinks when young, whether you're in one place or another, it never solves all the problems in life. This is called On Parliament Hill. I would have spent my life sitting in the lake gardens in Kuala Lumpur, where I was born, under a tree on those slopes sliding down to the lake. The marsh green of it shallow, artificial, and yet town girl that I was, filled with nature as I understood it. The air mostly quiet above for a town. The bubble park, traffic distant or rare. Occasional children's voices. A man selling balloon animals. Again nature tamed. Squeaky orange lion without teeth, as I was without skin in that place. My heritage blended east and west, illusion of balance, peace, palm trees and fir trees, Christmas trees we called them, native and other, together, except for politics. Outside the park, up the hill, Parliament Hill, a curved overpass road leading there, lined with fancy lamps for importance. The Constitution practiced there, institutionalizing rights, roles by race, some and other, and so I said goodbye and left, not knowing some and other was a universal rule everywhere on the shores of every ocean of this world. And that is as close as I will get to saying anything about politics, because the heart of life is what matters. And that's what we're here for today. So, Alina, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely reading. I'm going to read a poem called Malaya 2007. It appeared in my book called The Beloveds. Just as Shymala's poem is very grounded in reality in places like Parliament Hill, and in concrete experiences. This poem is about, it's more, I suppose, a dream of what Malaysia can be. Maybe it's not a dream that's happening now, but it's still a dream. So Malaya, 2007. Let the blood outside my windows be only in my dreams. Let the cries and shouts and running feet not touch the quick of you. Let my love for you break me and then make me whole again. Slow, deep country, country of slow trains passing through fields emerald in the sun, of languorous brown rivers, of blue hills and moontime. I would free you of history. I would keep you innocent of all that has been done in your name. I would lift these times off you and find you eternal, inviolate. There in your true time, you're always leaning, languid in the doorway, gazing out between distance and shadow. And we're always children playing on the beaches. When night falls, lights flare along the river. Glimmers of laughter or pantones animate the dark. There are blessings in the trees, and the sea drifts in every day to say hello. Thank you.
That was really beautiful, Alina. Really beautiful.
Okay, we thought we would say a bit also, because this is supposed to be a conversation about, Malaysia and what it means to us. So when we were writing, we wrote individually, in our own time and space, and strangely or blessedly, a lot of the same concerns and the same perspectives came up in our work, which is why we thought it'd be a good idea to do something like this. But when we were working on these poems and when we were discussing this event, we came up with some questions which I guess we'd like to throw out for you to think about, to ponder. Some questions about Malaysia, which is the whole process started us thinking about what does Malaysia mean to us? Is it just a physical place? Is it home? Where do you locate Malaysianness? Is it in its stories, its legends? I think most of us, wherever we are in the world, carry some legends and stories like Masuri, or Putri Gunung Ledang with us. Or is it, sorry, for some of us, we have a very non-conflicted relationship with Malaysia. We like being here. It's very easy. It's very smooth. And for others, of course, it's something else. It's darker, more fragmented, full of sharp edges, and the yearning or the longing to be fully accepted. So, of late, I think I've heard a lot of language used these days, which, I've heard people talk about the Malays and the Nons and all the done lines, So all this, I think, points to the fact that for many of us, belonging is not such an easy or smooth process. So, and then, there's all the type M, type C, type I that have popped up in our social media and our conversations. So, well, I suppose it's something that all Malaysians, maybe, or most Malaysians have to think about, especially those I think who are overseas. Where do they locate home, belonging, and their relationship to Malaysia? But of course, on a lighter note, for many of us, it's food. I mean, we guzzle nasi lemak and char kway teow every day, and then we get on a plane to go to London or something, and within 24 hours, we're scouring the place for the nearest restaurant to get our fix of nasi lemak. And it's really strange. I mean, I think of how we don't think about Malaysianness or being in Malaysia while we're here, but when we go overseas, recently I was with my sister Saida and I were in London. We went there for a break, and there are all kinds of restaurants in London. But the day that I felt really happy was when I arranged to meet up with my university friend Gabson, who's here. Hi, Gabson, and I thought, where should we go for lunch? And the first thing I thought was, oh, Malaysian restaurant, Bayswater, let's go. And then we were stuffing ourselves with curry mee and I just left KL like 1 week ago or something. So we are really, I think, into our food. We bring like tons of Maggi mee, and I think all Malaysian students probably know this, the 20 packs of Maggi mee and the 10 bottles of sambal that we stuff in our suitcase and we hoard carefully. So, which brings me to a poem written by Shymala, which I think really encapsulates this relationship to food. Shymala, if you'd like to read 12 Tints.
Sure. I will add before I read it a story that I told Alina about having an argument with the owner of the my favorite Malaysian restaurant when I was in New York, about sambal. The guy was from Penang, so he liked Penang style sambal. I'm a KL girl, and most foreigners expect KL food because that's what they mostly eat in Malaysia. So the restaurant made KL food, but we had this big argument because I always tried to beg them for extra sambal to tapao, so that I could stretch my food. And we had this argument about sambal for no reason except that it was a way of claiming our homes. He was telling me that I was completely wrong, and I was telling him he was completely wrong. So now from sambal to something else that's Malaysian, which is Cameroonian tea. This is called 12 Tins. I have to explain myself at customs for carrying tea. But then it is 12 tins. Who does that? But it's the best tea in the world, you see. Only they don't export it along with the export type people like me, the ones who wondered what it would be like elsewhere and would the shoes fit better. They pinch in Malaysia, those nice girl shoes, are only safe if, a big if, you color yourself very small. Bear responsibility without privilege. As here in the West, we export people do too, though we didn't know that would be the way of it, nor that we would be without real tea here. The best tea in the world is the tea from Malaysia. Please, all you people from India and Sri Lanka and China, please sit down. I'm not trying to insult you, only being homesick for Cameron Highlands. That's where the tea grows. Roses as big as my whole face, too. And, oh yes, for the tourists, a casino, where I once sat, simply, safely, in the middle of a winding hillside road with little traffic in the long ago. As I breathed the air and dreamed, foolishly, deeming that present not enough, wanting more than the finest golden tips dancing in the sun, failing to value until 15,000 miles of world ocean came between, the precious taste of that golden tea that carries the sense of home.
Thank you. Thank you, Shymala. Okay, so we've had some really interesting discussions, and like food. Where does belonging really belong? So I think a lot of our poetry centers on those questions. And even though we talk about food and we love food, and it's one way we claim belonging, there are darker issues, I think, which maybe people want to think about. And I remember reading Giovanni's Room, a novel by James Baldwin, when I was about 18. And he said, perhaps home isn't a place, but simply an irrevocable condition. And that really struck me. So as we go into this next section, which will be the poetry reading proper, maybe you want to keep some of those ideas in mind. Shymala, can you lead us into the next?
Okay, I will read something that I wrote. Find the right file. Sorry, I have too many windows open. Read something that I wrote for this event. It's called Requiem for Old Kuala Lumpur. Immigration, I'm quite old now, so it's not just a journey in distance, it's also a journey in time. Even people much younger than me know how fast things change in Malaysia, especially KL. So the KL inside my head is a KL from when I was a girl, half a century ago. And there's nothing wrong with today's KL, but the one in my heart is underneath that. So a requiem for old Kuala Lumpur. What is the poetry of towers? Metal, concrete, glass, brittle, inflexible, hard. Sky hiding, earth waiting. What does it feel like, that old earth, buried beneath this race of modernity? Holding memory of quiet, slow sweet of long ago, when I sucked nectar from tender hearts of hibiscus flowers, or sat beneath areca bushes, returning to the womb of green warmth, living nature. That rustling, moving, stroked my skin, my soul, feeding heart, soothing mind, and around me a richness of monkeys in the trees, orchids and birds, and even insects bright as jewels. Countries, like people, must grow, change, evolve. It's true. But in that rush, Kuala Lumpur, where my heart was born, remember also that you were good and beautiful. Your center, two colors of river water flowing together, many races of people coming together, richer together, brilliant together, as Roja and Laksa and Kueh so delicately lapis and yet strongly sticking together before a single thrusting tower was dreamt of. Over to you now, Alina.
Thank you, Shymala. That's lovely. Okay, I have a poem called Kuala Lumpur Trilogy, which, in a way, although they were all both these poems are written completely independently, picks up on a lot of what Shymala talks about. My Kuala Lumpur is one which also includes the experience of people who are minorities or marginal, because I think in my writing, I think that's important to me. So Kuala Lumpur Trilogy. Even the silences curl like stray cats in the hollow spaces of the city are fragile, beleaguered, liable at any moment to be broken. On Fridays, the men of Islam flock to mosques all over the city at lunchtime and raise their voices in prayer. Outside, their shoes and slippers surround the mosque like a host of fallen birds gaping with loss. Further out, the cars of the faithful are parked everywhere, on curbs, 3 deep along busy roads, jam into gateways and driveways while the traffic inches around them. The women, barred from the mosques, go shopping or home to sleep. City of dust, city of steel, city of heat and shining. The KL Tower and the Twin Towers mark and claim the sky. Impeccably dressed men and women step in and out of 5-star hotels at all times of the night and day. In gleaming office buildings, they hedge power and love it and transact it. And always in the distance, the sounds of something being built, roads, a skyscraper, a shopping center. Covered in sweat and cement dust and stunned by the clangor of heavy machinery, workers from Bangladesh or Indonesia sway on scaffolding or disappear into manholes. Sometimes they dream of the lost home, the smells and textures of the food of their childhood, the deep brown eyes of the child they will never see again. The sun's rays striking hard against walls of glass and marble burn the gaze in all our eyes. Brown water, brown bank, the river weaves through the city. We are so used to it, we hardly see how our days are contoured by its bends and meanderings. Then the rains fall, and, caught in a traffic jam that will not move for hours, we stare out of the car at the river swarming its banks and wonder if what they say about there being crocodiles in the river is true. Think of that night you stood with me on the bridge behind the Sultan Abdul Samad building looking at the river. We were on our way back from the candlelight vigil for the transsexual called Alicia, the strains of Somewhere Over the Rainbow still in our ears. Remember how we looked up and saw Masjid Jami sitting staunch and serene on its island amidst a panic of skyscrapers. I looked at its cool, smooth dome, upon which so many must have rested their eyes since KL began, and the way it was set back, shielded by a curtain of trees. And I wanted so much to believe that there's always a garden for each of us somewhere, and a promise that we can find home.
That was very beautiful, Alina. That image of Masjid Jame floating there above the river at the center of Kuala Lumpur is in my mind too. It's magic, and somehow it has all the promise of the serenity and the beauty that should be. Um, your poem also talks about people that there aren't spaces for and different roles, and so brings me to one of the poems that I wrote that sort of explained maybe another reason for leaving is when you're growing up, you rebel, don't you, when you're young against the rules and the roles, and girls have a lot of expectations put on them. And when I was a child, I thought, nah, not me. So I thought running away to America would fix it. It doesn't. But this is called Icarus in India, a girl. And it starts with a quotation from Rabindranath Tagore's Lipika. This is Tagore. The clouds in the sky come down in drops of rain so as to surrender themselves to earth. Likewise, girls come on this earth, nobody knows from where, to get themselves bound. And that's Tagore, and now this is me. There is a South Indian proverb that says, if you aim for the sky, at least you'll go over the coconut tree. But nice girls, everybody said, don't fly. My aunties told me they were taught to walk while looking down modestly at their big toe. Toes, I pointed out, are less interesting than sky. But for my own good, that's what they said. They clipped my tail feathers. No feathers, no flying, they thought. But the feathers kept growing back. They told me this was impossible. Yet, look, I am flying, dancing in the clear, cool air. Only, what do you think? It's making me a little bit nervous. Why is the ground getting closer? Voices. My aunties, all the aunties, everybody's aunties, are waiting below me, scissors in their eager hands. Please pray. I am flapping as hard as I can. And of course, I'm an auntie myself now, so I feel something on both sides of this issue. But gender expectations are always very difficult. Alina, over to you.
Thank you, Shymala. I like the use of myth, Icarus, to kind of ground that poem, and also the elements from India. I think it's a very interesting mix, and makes it very universal, actually, even though it's rooted in a specific location or experience. Okay, taking off from that, I'm going to read a poem called Masuri, which I think all Malaysians know the story of Masuri, the legend. But for those who don't, basically Masuri was a very beautiful woman. This is set on the island of Langkawi, and the legend is that she was a very, very beautiful woman, but other women became jealous of her and started rumors of infidelity, and so she was ordered to be put to death, and they tied her to a tree and they tried to stab her, but she couldn't be killed until finally she told them to go and get a spear from her house, and that was the only thing that could kill her. And the story goes that when they stabbed her with that spear, white blood flowed out, signifying, well, we would read it as signifying her innocence of what she was accused of. But as she died, she cursed the island with 7 generations of barrenness and suffering. So now that Shymala's led us into the realm of legend, and I believe that most Malaysians, if not all, would carry the story with them wherever they go. So Masuri, and also one more thing. I think Shymala's poem talked about the expectations for women, gender expectations, and sometimes how women and girls have their wings clipped. And so when I wrote this poem, I wanted to represent Masuri as well as a woman who was different and powerful. Masuri, it was true, mostly, what they said, that I was sweet and innocent and pure, and that I was known to magic, that I died bleeding white, and my curse was powerful and true. But there was so much more they did not say, so many silences in their stories about me. They did not say, for instance, that all my life I saw too much and knew too much and struggled constantly to keep my rage at bay. You know, of course, that I failed in the end, and that through my dying, that rage came springing into the world, but I tried. They did not say that of me. Or that I was someone who could feel the moon awakening over the paddy fields as I lay in my bed at night, who knew the moods of the sea as well as I knew my own, who could sift through your thoughts just by looking into your eyes. I was simple, unschooled. I loved the land too much, too hard, walked all over the island with bare feet, touching trees. For people, I had not much feeling. My laughter sounded like a crow's rasping, but no one mentioned that. They just talked about my beauty. And yes, I was beautiful, but what does that word mean, after all? When I looked at myself in the water, there always seemed to be something off slant about me, something amiss, awful even. I was happy when I looked into the eyes of animals. I was friends with a grey cat who came and went as he pleased. I called him Din. I would stand at the window when I was lonely and call out, Din, oh Din. And sometimes the air would move around my feet and he would be there. He could not be tamed, but sometimes he would sit in my lap and look into my eyes, and we would be at peace. And I had a favorite chicken who came to my call and followed me around the yard when I hung up the washing. As for people, I tried not to look into their eyes. There was too much there I would rather not see. Men did not interest me much, although they never stopped bothering me. All in all, I did not want much from life, only to be free sometimes of the fear and rage that roared loudest in me at night. So jagged, so me. In the end, I found that freedom by choosing to let them kill me. I told them where to find the magic spear that was needed, for their weapons were powerless against me. I was innocent of the charge, of course, but that did not signify much to them, or to me, for I was tired of it all by then. I could have walked away from it all, untouched, unscathed. In their stories, they do not say this of me, that my dying was more of my choosing than theirs. They do not say that long afterwards, those who had been there could only see white, that whiteness had been branded onto their eyes, and that no tears would come to soothe the burning. They do not say that their ears rang with my screams, that they could not sleep nor sit still for hearing me. They do not say that they hear me still. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Alina. I have chills. Um, what do you think? Do you want to, it's 40 minutes after the hour now. Do you want to go to the invocation and so on, or do you want to do one more poem each and then what's your
I'd love
preference?
for you to read one more, Shymala. I think
Uh,
we can fit
okay,
that in the time.
then I will read Monsoon Daughter, which is the last poem in my book, and um, and maybe you could read the Malaysia poem, which is so beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, so this is actually a prose poem that's sort of a bunch of separate impressions of life and emotions, all connected to my family and belonging. Um, this is called Monsoon Daughter. 1. It is mid-afternoon and monsoon season. I am home again, briefly, from America. I stand on my brother's veranda smelling the rain coming, while my family, inside the house, discuss a function we are to go to that evening. The air is heavy with the smell of the sea, healing absences so accustomed I had stopped feeling the emptiness of them until that moment. My mother, mistaking shaken joy for grief, comes out and asks, "Why are you standing here? Come inside. Are you upset? We don't have to go to this function if you don't want to." But actually, I am whole. In that moment, I am whole. 2. I remember her a lifetime ago, urging me closer to her father's grave, thrusting a lit candle into my child's small hand. I am meant to plant it through the tangled blanket of smoldering wreaths into the friable clay beneath. We cannot take anything back from the grave, must light every candle. The air is dry and acrid with smoke as we plant more and more lit candles that tilt and scorch more greenery, on and on till black smoke drifts and the sky is no more, nothing left but choking dry air and sucking clay holding my slippers bound. I pull to escape, understanding. Dryness is death. Port Dickson, Malaysia, where I was born. I am surrounded by waters whose very names I love. Straits of Malacca, Indian Ocean, Andaman Sea, Bay of Bengal. Across the peninsula from me, the South China Sea is as warm and loving as a mother's womb, except in the fury of monsoon season. Beneath my feet, as I bob in the water, the Sunda Shelf, a submerged continental plate, holds all of the lands around me together. The water is so shallow I could wade to Indonesia. I laugh and take 2 steps, and then suddenly flounder into a deep pool sinking in over my head. Nothing is as easy as it looks. I scramble to shallow water again, while sand dollars, sharp as thorns on my mother's roses, cut my feet. 4. Sunset, foam frothing against hard metal from the knife passage of the ship that I am on. Andaman sea waters darkening from brilliant turquoise into sapphire mystery. Smell of the purser's cigar, my father's warm, vibrating laughter as they talk together. We are crossing from Malaysia to India, reversing my parents' long ago migration journey. Ahead of the ship, the water sparkles with iridescence. People begin to cry, flying fish. I see them then, jumping improbably high and hovering in the air, carrying the ocean on their skin so they can stay in the air a while. Spray blows onto my skin, and I understand as the flying fish do. Home is not the sky. I travel the world, jumping as they do, memories dripping through my cupped hands, salt tears and monsoon dreams, and all those people who understood me not, and ghosts of all the functions I have not attended. 5. Somewhere, a child is lost to tsunami. Somewhere, a liberty drowns in airlessness. Somewhere, sea turns from scenic to sardonic suffering. My World War II survivor father, a child who had lived through tsunami, laughs, knowing another tsunami may come tomorrow, or even this next minute. He tells me about his lost best friend, then says, "Look, there's a bird." And so shall I. I carry ocean.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was really an experience. I love how the way it's not just the meaning, but the sounds, the rhythm. Thank you. So I'm going to conclude our reading with a poem called Malaysia. After that, we have some time for questions and discussion. So, Malaysia. In the dusk, two neighbors speak across the fence, their faces unseen, but their voices lilting the dark. Their words fall through the air like petals and incantations. May 13, Racial Harmony, Bumiputra, Johor, Pendatang, ISA, and also Roti Canai, Mama, Kelantan, Rambutan, Sayang. Not just their words, all our words, twine around not just their hearts, but all our hearts, and with us all the time, an unseen grid on which we find our lives. But move beyond thought, beyond will, beyond the sounds of words so lovely you can lose yourself in them, while meaning falls away. Perlis, ibu, rindu, kinabatangan, awan. What I need now is not just the old ways of knowing you, not just the definitions, the histories, the explanations I've carried with me wherever I've been in the world. Move me past manifestos, national declarations, the stories we keep telling ourselves to tell us who we are and how we came to be. Who we are is distance, where we are is lost, and the old stories wander around like dreams without their dreamers. Move me past meaning, past memory, past love even. What I need now is to have you woven through my blood like the evening wind laced with an approaching storm. Let the haze of sweat and strain and longing that hovers over the streets of KL infuse my skin, my dreams. And whatever tenderness I may encounter in the world from now, let it always feel a little like the soil in which our fruit trees grow, dark, damp, comfortingly heavy in the hand. Stay in me all through, and whenever I am severed from myself and the world, come upon me like the afternoon sun lying full length on the inner brown sea in Penang at PD, disinterestedly possessive, sweepingly exultant.
That is the perfect finish of our offering, I think. Thank you so much, Alina.
Thank you,
The
Shymala.
every image in that poem is, and we could read for another 6 hours. We won't, so don't worry. But every image that Alina has in that poem, there's something else that I've written that has that image in it, and vice versa. Um, so this is our offering and our wish for Malaysia Day, for that love that holds us together to continue. In If we were being more formal, this would be a Q&A, but please feel free to unmute and, what does Malaysia mean to you? Any reflections, any observations, any questions, anything?
I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, I have my mouth guarded in. I wanted to say that I'm honored to feel the love and the belonging to Malaysia that I've experienced tonight, and it's just a warm feeling for me, and I thank you all.
Thank you for coming and for being here, Ron. And I hope on this side of the world we'll feel that soon too. Anybody? Please feel free to unmute. Maybe I will start with a question for Alina. Where does your writing come from? What motivates you to write and pick the subjects that you pick? It's a terrible question. I know it's hard to answer these questions.
From everywhere, really. Things I see, things I read, things I experience. I think like yours, like anybody's writing. Of course, these poems that I've read focus on Malaysia, but I have written about other things. But I basically have to be moved to write poetry, whereas with my other writing, it can come straight from the mind. So that's why it's difficult, really. I have to be really inspired, or I can't write the poetry. So yeah, dreams, wishes, longings.
Hi, this is Samuel and Ratna.
Yes.
Well,
Hi,
we are
Samuel.
friends of Alina and also Lillian. Hi, thank you for doing this. I think we really enjoy it so much in terms of the poem, the poetry. Even though I'm not so much a poetry myself, although I love, like all the rap music. Yeah, I think it's so poetic, especially like Kendrick Lamar. Yes. And we see so much hope, I think, because people are so passionate about Malaysia. You're right. Definitely, wherever we go to, if we travel abroad, and then like the last time when we were in New Zealand, and we were telling ourselves that we are not going to eat anything anymore in New Zealand. We're just going to cook a Malaysian meal. Yeah, and then we just cannot eat out. Yeah, things like that. Anything? Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks so much.
Alina, your contact info, you should drop it in the chat for people who want your books.
Okay. I will. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hey,
I'm
Nana.
Nausad. Yeah, I'm
Nana.
Nausad. I am Alina's friend from Lancaster at the time. So I'm not a Malaysian. I'm almost like a Malaysian. It sounds a bit similar. I'm a Mauritian from Mauritius, a tiny island. And what you have been describing in your poetry for Malaysia, Shymala and Alina, it's a bit similar to what we feel here in Mauritius. We are all coming from different places. We are all immigrants in Mauritius. And that feeling of root and etc. is here. What I said in the chat is that Mauritians who live abroad, they would when they come to Mauritius, they'll fill their bags with tea, with dal puri, with Kraft cheddar cheese. of all things, and whatnot, just for them to bring some of that memory back to where they are living in Canada or whatever. So yeah, this feeling of going back to your root is always with you. It's always there. I really like your this event. So I wish you well. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Naushad. Naushad and I knew each other a long time ago when we were in our late 20s, I think, in the UK as students. So it's really wonderful that you could come, Naushad. Thank you.
Yeah. Just one thing. It's 8 o'clock here in the morning. I have to rush to work, and I am not a full-time poet myself. Far from that. I'm in engineering, but at times, you can't really live on just one thing. You have to. I touch all sorts of different subjects. So yeah, as I said, I'm like a occasional poet.
Thanks.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can you see me or?
Yeah,
Yes, we can see you, Sumay.
and then
Hi.
SR has a hand raised. So Sumay first, go ahead.
Oh, I'm also a friend of Alina. Actually, only know her online. So it's funny that this is the first time I'm seeing her in person. So I'm based in Melbourne. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. I just wanted to say thank you for holding this event. Like, I've been in Melbourne 13 years now, and it's just so nice to connect with other people all over the world who share similar feelings about Malaysia, even though they're in other countries. So in Melbourne, we're very lucky. We don't have to pack sambal in the bag or any special food. You can find everything here. There's so many Malaysians here now, especially over the last few years. One thing that struck me when Alina was reading her poems were the words, like Malay words, like rambutan, roti canai. It's just so many random words, and it like strikes a chord in you, like it's words that we speak every day. And I'm wondering what it would be like in the future. Like, will the new generation know Malay words? Because when I go back, my niece and nephew, they don't speak Malay. They didn't go to they don't go to Kebangsaan school like I did, where Malay was compulsory. Like they either go to Chinese school or private school. So I'm just wondering what Malaysia will be like in the future. Does anyone have thoughts on that?
Would any of the Malaysians here want to chime in on that? I think that's a very interesting question.
Yes, it is.
The
Hi.
idea. Sorry,
Okay.
first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Hi, it's Ratna, and yes, Sam and I are in Malaysia. How will it be for future children growing up in Malaysia? My children went to Chinese schools, and because we also wanted them to be Malaysian and not just have the Chinese part, we had the system where we spoke English at home, Chinese at school, and in the car, because we were in the car a lot, we spoke Malay. So all of them speak Malay. It's just how you want to raise your kids and what you want to do about it. And if you put your mind to it, I am sure your children can be bilingual, trilingual. In the case of my kids, they are, I don't know, at least 5 languages. So yes, there is hope for our children, and it won't be lost. We are the custodians of what we are going to share with our future generations. So we have to put the effort in, and I think it can be done.
I love that. Let me share something that came to my mind while preparing for this event was that I grew up in the Royal Military College, and on that street, the gang of kids that I played with when I was small, all different races. I think I must have been about 5 or 6 before I figured out, oh, there are actually different languages. Because as small kids, you grab, you're panjating the poko or whatever, you one word from one language, one word from another, and you don't know. You're speaking Rojak, but all of those languages belong to you. There was SR. I'm sorry, I don't know the name.
Hold on,
You had a
Shymala.
question? Yeah,
Shymala, hold on. Before we move on,
yeah, sure.
yeah, thank you for Sume. Does that answer your question? Is that
Yeah, very much. Yeah, thank you.
okay?
Yeah.
I also want to say that Sume is herself a very, very accomplished writer. I really encourage you to look at her books. One is called Lake Malibu and Other Stories. I don't know if you know, but some time ago, ISA, the skincare brand, did this women's library project where they selected books from women writers in Malaysia. And Sume's book was one of those, and I picked that one up as my choice, actually. I really, I won't make it easy and say it was good, it was a good read and things like that, but it was a very stimulating read. And I really, I'm normally a bit lazy, but I actually wrote a review about it and put it all over Google and things. So that's really worth reading. Sume has also written another book called Katie Goes to KL, which is a young adult genre book, which actually I think the issues are not really just for young adults, they're for everybody. Quite political issues about religion, controversies about religion, and so on. So Sume is based in Melbourne. Yeah, and we have had interactions with each other, but on WhatsApp. Thank God for WhatsApp and Google and all this. And I hope to meet up with her when she comes back to KL eventually. Thank you, Sume.
Thanks.
Sumit, if you want to drop the names of your books in the chat, maybe for people who might want to look them up.
Sure, I'll do that.
SR, you had a question earlier. I think you had your hand raised.
Yeah, hi, it's me, Saida.
Oh, Saida, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for this marvelous, marvelous session. It really kicks off Malaysia Day in such a fantastic way. I wanted to add on to something that Sume said and reference the concepts and ideas that you both had mentioned in your incredible poignant poems. This idea of where Malaysia will be going, I see it just a thought to put out there. Of course, there's millions of thoughts. The whole notion that we've come from somewhere and we're going somewhere. So coming from the past, I see a lot of categorizations and boxes. Even if you just look at one aspect, race, right? We were put into boxes by British census takers, things, whereas we're so much more diverse than Melayu Cina India, of course. But moving into the future, just based on the things that you mentioned, roti canai, all those things, moving into the future, how about if our identity is formed by our encounters with each other? It's not our disagreements with each other, and where, for example, religion bumps into another religion, or who claims what cultural artifact. Rather, it's when we encounter each other, we become richer. I've been working on the history of Malacca, and certainly in such a cosmopolitan place where for hundreds of years, many races have been coming and meeting, you can see the richness that results out of those encounters. And listening to the references in your poems, the images that you evoke, I was just thinking of this. It's not an original thought, by the way. I read it several times in Encounters, but your poems brought that notion up. Just wanted to share. Thank you.
That is lovely.
Thank you, sis. I think that's very true. And also, yeah, taking off from Sumi's question, what my sister just said, that we do have a choice as to how we want to see each other, how we want to relate to each other. Whether we're going to go around thinking always in terms of, oh, that person's type M, that is Malay, that person's Indian or whatever, or we're just going to see each other. And I've lived in different countries, Australia, England, and what seems to me really special about being here in Malaysia is that really very often you do have, when you're not lost in social media reading what the politicians are saying and things, you just meet each other and it just doesn't occur to you. You're just talking to each other as Malaysians. And I know that in other countries where they talk about integration of racial groups and ethnic and all minorities and all that, very often it's people are still in different areas of the city and all that. It's not very fluid. It's not very natural. I don't know if you find that true in somewhere like Melbourne, Sume, or maybe there's just so many Malaysians that, you know. But that's one thing I really do appreciate about Malaysia, that you can, of course, there are times when those divides do make themselves known, but most of the time we just encounter each other in a very organic and easy way. At least that's my, especially when you need help, I found, you get help from everybody. So yeah, thanks sis for bringing that point up.
At the best, the belonging and acceptance. I don't know, my childhood friends are, and sometimes it's decades in between when you see people or whatever, but you belong to each other and you accept each other in a way that is below all the noise of all the things people can disagree about. That is unique. That is done very well in Malaysia, better than in many places, I think, certainly.
Anyone else has any comment or
There was a
question?
question in the chat about whether we were thinking of any further work, whether to do with Malaysia or anything else, what the next projects are.
Do you want to start on that one?
Well, I'm always
Ah.
working on poems. I'm sure Alina is too, always writing, and I have a couple of book projects I'm working on. But to start talking about that would be a long thing, so I will stop there. Over to you, Alina, and then Saida has something.
Yeah, I've been trying to put my third book out. It's taken a long time because, well, life happened, things got, interrupted and well, yeah, it's just been hard to get that going, but I really would like to do that. So yeah, that's what I aim to do. Yeah, I think my sister Saida wants to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can talk now.
Hi, this is Lillian. I'm Alina's partner.
Oh, why are you hiding behind Said SR?
I'm here with Alina's mom and sister. It's a family thing. I'm really glad to hear Alina commit to a third book because I think that's long overdue. Because the second book was published in 2009. What I want to say is that everything that we've heard today about the reminiscence of and imagery of Malaysia tend to be more on the placid side, because I think that's what memory does. It you sort of see the images, but not the full volume of the sound, the complexities, the conflicts. And I guess what I want to say is that I think we could do more if we had the courage to take risks and not be afraid of conflict, because out of conflict, beautiful things happen. That's where we actually find new definitions for things that we are familiar with, and we see things differently. So I think the challenge is there for both poets. I'm really, really glad you guys did this, and there should be more occasions when we can do that and share our insights and our creative work. Thank you very much. Enjoyed this.
That's
Thank you.
fascinating, Lillian, and very thought-provoking. And I will say that we had a conversation ahead of time about what topics we would go into and what we wouldn't, and how much to say and how much not to say. And but more conversation, perhaps without recordings on, and you know, with people we know, that might be good. And
I think also that as artists, each of us make artistic choices about what we want to represent and what we don't, and what styles we're comfortable with and what we're not. So I'm not to write our conflict. That's not where I want to go. And I think there's plenty of stuff out there if you want to get into the conflicts, the divisions, but that's not me. That's not where my poetry goes. So I write what is natural to me. Yeah, but having said that, I do agree. There's you know there's room for everything. It's just that I don't think that's going to be my room, basically. Well, at least it hasn't been. Who knows in the future? Anything is possible. But
yes,
you know,
I have been working almost forever. And I may work on it till the day I die and never finish the book. I don't know, but on something on World War II Malaya. But I didn't want to write a story set in the war, as opposed to, I want to write about the boring stuff, the resilience, the fact that somehow with all the usual stuff that anyone who lives through, we all know the stories of cut off heads in the road and things like that. But ordinary people somehow manage to make time to grow tapioca and kangkong and put some food in front of their kids and survive. And they manage to laugh from time to time. And for me, even in times of conflict, the how of ordinary people managing to find joy and grace is what's interesting to search for, because I find it hard to do myself sometimes.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. How are we doing for time?
It's
Chairman?
almost 1:15. Shall we wind up? Do you want to close us out, Alina?
Okay. Sorry, Saida raised her hand.
No, sorry. I just wanted to say thanks very much for this really beautiful session. I think there should be so many more sessions like this. I was just explaining to Mum how, Shymala is in the US and Alina is in Malaysia. And here in Malaysia Day, we're enjoying this amazing session. It's wonderful. Here's
Well,
to more.
we owe it to you, because
Yes,
if
you were the spark.
if it wasn't Malaysia, and we had Alina and I met through Saida, and I had not met Saida in real life, but through the Malaysian History and Heritage Club on Facebook. And I wrote and said, hey, I'm coming back home for a visit. Maybe we could get together. And anywhere else, and maybe anybody else would have said, oh yeah, let's meet for coffee. And that would have been great. Saida said, come on over for makan. I will invite a bunch of people. And we had a beautiful evening in a beautiful space. And then we started talking, and here we are. So
Yes, yes. It all started with that evening, and
yeah.
and even though I wasn't I'm not actively in the history club that they're all members of. My sister said, "Hey, come along and meet this person and all that." And strangely enough, because I normally don't go out to things,
I'm
I
glad you did.
So
Glad to
so
go
here
to.
we are.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks.
thank you, everybody, for coming. And wish everyone in Malaysia a happy Malaysia Day, and wish everyone wherever they are in the world some peace and some unity.
Yeah.
Alina, did you
Okay,
want to do a
too,
closing?
Shymala. I know the US things are very, very strange, to put it mildly. Take care of yourself. I hope everything will work out all right in the end. Everyone, thank you so much for sharing our Malaysia Day offering with us. It's been, I mean, for me, this is the first time I do readings normally in, physical spaces in Malaysia. So this has been such an incredibly great new experience for me, talking to people from different countries, and like Naushad made the comment that so many of what we go through, so many issues that we are thinking about, it would be the same for him there too in Mauritius. And actually, at some level, I think they're universal. Everybody deals with issues of home, belonging, where we feel at home. So thank you so much. And I want to say that I'm just so glad that with this new, well, to me, it's new technology, to the young ones like my student Annabelle, who's here. And I'm very glad that Annabelle, you're here, because there are not many students who actually wake up and willingly come to a poetry event on a public holiday. So thanks for
Yes.
coming, Annabelle.
Thank you, Annabelle.
And yeah, I see so many good things for young people like Annabelle, young Malaysians. And also the whole thing about Zoom. I mean, I'm not so great with Zoom and all that, but I learned. And the technology, social media and so on, that's available to us today makes something like this possible, where we can talk across huge physical and geographical distances. We can make connections, we can share. And we can create art like this. So I have to really express huge thanks to Shymala for coming up with the idea of doing this, for inviting me on board, and also huge congrats again on coming up with her really beautiful book. And also to Joe, Shymala's husband, who's been behind the scenes, making sure nothing goes wrong and everything, then Zoom doesn't let us down and so on. So, and thank you to everyone who's here today for spending Malaysia Day with us. It's been very special. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all for coming. God bless.
Oh wait, there's a question I think from Saida again.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
sorry. Sorry. I think Saida has a question. Is that
no,
Saida's?
No,
No?
No?
I think the hand may still be up from before, maybe.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll say I'll say good night, and Alina will say good morning. We wish you all.
Our details are in the chat. If anybody
Yes.
wants to contact us, you can get my book
Absolutely.
through me and Shymala's book through her. So take care, everyone.
And
Happy
if you
Malaysia.
enjoyed this and want more, would like to join at any future events, let us have your email so we can let you know if anything comes up. So,
Malay.
okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.